Hello there, and welcome to Seismic Cinema's second podcast. How are we doing, Paul?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Just enjoying the midweek rest and looking forward to doing our second ever podcast. Amazing we've got this far.
Yep, we're very impressed with how far we've made it. So this is our second podcast, and we just wanted to talk a wee bit about how we feel so far. So, Paul, what was something that you felt went well last week?
I felt like I think we went well. I think we managed to do it without crying, which was a big bonus. I thought I'd be in tears halfway through it, not knowing what to say and going boo, 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 boo. But we got there in the end. So I quite enjoyed it from that aspect. What about you?
I feel like we both agreed that we're a wee bit nervous at the start, and we're still kind of at that stage. But I feel like the discussion went well, and we eased into it, and we had a bit of a laugh. We thought some of our jokes were quite funny, so there was that.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I'm always going to laugh at my own jokes, so it was a success in that aspect. Although sometimes we did speak over each other. But
Yeah, so I just did it again. There you go.
Yeah.
So.
And also I've realised that I say and hing. I say hing a lot instead of thing. So
once
you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Don't hang up on it. Don't hang up on it.
Yeah. Oh, good one.
So yeah, I think we can agree that we do say a lot, and that's something we do need to go over, and also the talking over each other. So those are conscious things. We thought we would just keep it real in the podcast and be honest about our progress. Last week's video was a wee bit long, but it was a review of the first 4 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. So we think this week will be a wee bit shorter.
Yeah, hopefully don't make our listeners' ears bleed too much.
Yep, not who want to do that. So we should get right into it then. So this was chapter 5, or episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett. And I think this could make quite an interesting episode because we have slightly different opinions on kind of what went down.
Yeah. Do you want to start on this one? I'm interested in your take on this one.
Right. Well, we might as well get rid of the kind of elephant in the room. My main issue with the episode was that Boba Fett's not in it at all. By name mentioned, yes, but not actually in the episode. Should have said that there was a spoiler warning there. We'll make sure we put that in the title. So my main issue was, although the show's has its ups and downs so far, the fact that Boba Fett wasn't actually in the episode at all, apart from the kind of links near the end of the episode, it just kind of made it. If this was Mandalorian season 3, episode 1, I would have loved it, and I do enjoy the content. I just feel a bit it's strange that Boba's not in it. That's my kind of take.
Yeah, I was literally about to say that. It did feel like season 3, episode 1 of The Mandalorian. It's just I just feel like it's a totally different vibe from the first 4 episodes. Just the way it's shot and the pacing and just even the action. It just seems like reminds me of The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Which I was hoping the Book of Boba Fett was going to be in the first 4 episodes, and it's not quite lived up to it. So I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, was because it's reminded me of like the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, why I was really looking forward to the Boba Fett series. So in my mind, that's why I liked it, because this is what I felt like the series should have been so far, and it's not quite reached there. So yeah, that's mainly why I think I enjoyed it. And
you just said Hink again.
I did.
No, like, it's just a weird one for me. Like, I know I was enjoying the show more than you. I just feel like it was about to go into high gear in the show. We'd finished the flashbacks. The muscle was about to come in. I just kind of wish Boba Din Djarin had joined Boba's story instead of it being like a pure Mandalorian episode.
Yeah, it's like he's taken over. He's taken all the limelight off of Boba. So I don't know in the coming episodes if Boba's gonna have to. He's gonna have to really step up to try and take the limelight back off of him to reclaim his own show.
Right, now we've got that bit out of the way. I feel like that had to be mentioned before we talked about it because to me that's the big difference in this episode compared to the others. But when we go back to the start and now we've established that Boba's not in it, we just kind of talk through the episode, what we liked, didn't like, connections, and our kind of predictions moving forward and how this will tie into the wider narrative.
Sure, let's go for it. So obviously the end of Boba Fett. Oh, sorry. Oh
no.
God.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Right, you go first. You talk first.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I start off at the meat plant. I'm obviously noticed the title card is The Return of the Mandalorian. You see his figure coming through the plastic curtains in the meat plant, and like, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty impressed with it. Just the way it was shot, it was like pretty tense. He's walking through the meat plant to collect his first bounty, and again as well, the set design and the character design was really good. I can't remember what the race was of the meat worker plants, but their costumes looked absolutely spot on.
I had the species in my head. Is it like are they Clantunians or something? Is that the right phrase?
That actually sounds familiar. I'm actually watching the episode right in front of me right now, and I think I just seen it flash up in a subtitle.
I'm going to start writing down. I actually meant to do it, but I was feeling quite sleepy. I'm going to just write down just the odd character name, just some of the more obscure characters.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Yeah. So when he reaches he finds his bounty, and it's basically just a crime boss sitting in the back room of this meat plant, and he comes in ready to take him away, and he utters his famous slogan. You remember what his slogan is? Or his catchphrase?
I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. He says it better than that, but there you
Oh, I was going to say he could be a Pedro Pascal impersonator.
go. What? Just a quick question there. What's your thoughts on? There is a bit of debate about the kind of subtitles with the aliens. Obviously, that wasn't a subtitle job. That was more just a regular kind of human voice. What was your view on that with the guy who was collecting the bounty for?
Uh,
Is that something that bothers you?
no, that doesn't bother me. I quite like just the diversity of it all. So I don't mind that at all. Plus, my hearing's pretty bad anyway, so I need the subtitles.
Yeah, that helps me focus. So he's in the butcher's. He's found the person he's got the bounty for. What comes up next?
Well, he gets jumped by the what is it? Is he called the Clantunian? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I don't want to commit to that in case it's wrong.
Yeah.
So let's just
The dog faced guards.
yeah.
He gets jumped by them. One of them bites him in the hand, and the rest of them jump him, and he pulls out the Dark Saber, which he acquired at the end of season 2 in The Mandalorian.
So for any casual viewers, the Dark Saber is technically a lightsaber, which has origins back in the thousands of years ago with the Mandalorians, and you actually find out it was a Mandalorian Jedi with the name Vizsla who had that in the kind of first instance.
And it's quite a significant weapon because obviously it's like a lightsaber. It can block other lightsabers and it can cut through pretty much anything except Beskar, which is the Mandalorian's armor.
And it was quite a big deal because it was also in Star Wars Rebels as well, which you haven't watched.
Nope. And it's also culturally significant because whoever wields it can lead Mandalore.
Yeah,
Is that right?
We'll come back to that because that obviously comes up in a scene.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
a wee bit further down the line.
yeah.
So the Dark Saber's out. What happens next?
Basically lays waste to all the guards. But he's quite a skilled warrior, and you can see he's really struggling to actually control the weapon. He's swinging it around. And it looks like he's really straining with it. And when I was first watching it, I was thinking that was really weird because you've seen him take down people with spears, you've seen him take down people just hand-to-hand combat, and he's a lot more proficient doing that than he is with this Dark Saber. And he actually ends up slicing his own leg by accident in the middle of the fight.
It obviously comes up later that the Dark Saber, like if you're not like fully committed to it or confident with it, it kind of works against you and it becomes heavier as the fight goes on. So I think that's kind of what you're struggling with.
Yeah, when I was first watching it, I wasn't sure what was going on. I was like, he's meant to be really good. Why is he struggling with this? Why did he cut his own leg? But obviously explains it later in the episode. But yeah, so he collects the bounty. He actually cuts the bounty in half, and then takes his head.
That bit really confused me for a lot of the show. I kept thinking what was in the bag. I thought he had money. It wasn't until I actually reflected on it that I realised it was his head.
You have not seen enough gangster films, my friend.
I thought it was like a bag of money that he'd taken some of it.
Yeah. Did you not see when you're talking to the workers outside?
Yeah, it makes
they confront him. There's actually blood dripping from the bag.
No, I didn't notice that, but that's that makes sense now that it was the head of the boss.
And that's what I like as well about this episode, because it's a lot more brutal and ruthless than it's been so far in the first 4 episodes. So even in that short space, that first 5 minutes, it's actually been more ruthless, I'd say, and more what I wanted from Boba Fett than actual Boba Fett. But that's just my personal gripe.
But he is still a good guy. We obviously like Din Djarin, and he basically says to the workers, your boss's money's in there. I don't want it. I've got what I need, the head. So go in and help yourself. And they're a wee bit hesitant at first, aren't they? But then they eventually kind of run through and go and take the money.
Yeah, I think that was his only way through without a fight, and he was pretty banged up by this point as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was holding his hand that had been bitten, and he was limping pretty bad after cutting his leg. He looked like me after a wee Sunday League game at the 11-a-side.
Or your first run of the year.
Oh God, don't remind me.
So he leaves from there and he flies. I don't quite know how to describe it. Is it like an asteroid belt that has like kind of civilization on it? It's kind of hard to. It's not something we've really ever seen before.
Well, I thought that's where the meat plant was on this planet. Well, it's not a planet. It's more like I think it's an artificial station. It's like a large ring.
Yeah, it's something a wee bit different. So he's obviously taken the head to get the bounty back, and he's invited for a sit down meal, but he's not really interested because he's got another agenda. What is it that our pal Din Djarin is looking for?
He's looking for the nearest entrance to the sub-levels. So he starts limping. He goes out the club and starts limping through the streets to where he's been told the nearest access is. And he turns on his don't know how to describe it. What do you call the vision in his helmet? And he sees invisible markings that the Mandalorians have left, directing him to the entrance. So he climbs down and he sees his old friends from Navarro, which was the covert that was hiding there
Yeah.
in the Mandalorian season.
So this was all the way back. Obviously, we saw the character, the Armorer. I think that was the name given to her character. We saw her again from memory
Yeah.
later on. Was that the end of season 1?
I think it was the end of
So
season
just
1.
yeah, but we saw the other character, and it was episode 3, which is still one of my chapter 3, still one of my favorite episodes of the Mandalorian. The Sin. You remember that one?
I do indeed. That was the heavy gunner Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was a good episode. So the two characters is the Armorer, which, unless any of our viewers want to correct me, is what the character is referred to. But there's also, is it Pan Vizsla? Is that the name
I think it's
of
Pan
the
or
other?
Pac. I can't
Yeah.
remember.
So I've got a wee fun fact for you here, Paul.
I like it. I like fun
which you
facts.
may or may not be aware of. The Vizsla character, the big chunky Mandalorian, is voiced by Jon Favreau.
Is it actually? Oh,
Yeah,
I thought the voice sounded familiar.
because Vizsla, the character Vizsla, very famous name in Mandalorian culture, is also in the Clone Wars cartoons, animated series, sorry. And Jon Favreau voices the character in that show as well.
No, I did not know that.
I'm not sure if it's the exact same Vizsla or if it's like a relative, but Jon Favreau voiced a Vizsla character in the Clone Wars and in this episode.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I didn't know that.
And
So
the second fun fact, we mentioned this was last week. We said the scenes of young Boba were unused Attack of the Clones footage. I found out from one of my favorite YouTubers. If you haven't listened to Christian Harloff before, get on and give the guy a view. He's a real inspiration of mine. He said it was actually a deep fake, and it was actually a different actor that played young Boba Fett, and they superimposed Daniel Logan's face over the top. So that's another use of that deep fake technology after the Mandalorian finale.
Yeah. So we basically lied to you last week. It was just a total ruse that we told you it was unused footage.
Yeah, but we're learning as we go, and that includes wee bits of trivia like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, off on a tangent, he's obviously found the Armorer and he's found Vizsla. What kind of happens after that?
Well, Vizsla tends to the Mandalorian's wounds, and he explains there's only 3 of them left. See, when he says that, does he mean like the Armorer, the Heavy Gunner, and Mando are the only 3 left, or is there somebody missing that they haven't seen?
I was thinking about that earlier because the way he said it made it sound like there was a third one of them.
Yeah.
So I think there maybe is a third Mandalorian
we haven't seen before.
yet.
Yeah. That's quite interesting. Something that's maybe going to pop up later.
That's something to keep an eye out for.
But basically, so Vizsla tends to his wounds, and the Armorer asks what happened to him, and he shows her the Dark Saber, and the Armorer has a look at it and asks him if he understands all the responsibility that comes with it and how he should have obtained it, and the story of basically the downfall of Mandalore.
So it was interesting. Din Djarin asked if she'd heard of Bo-Katan, which is obviously.
I think that's later on after the.
Is that later on?
Yeah, it's when they're setting up the forge.
Right. Okay. I'll dial back then.
No, it's because they started talking about the downfall of Mandalore, which I thought was like interesting because I'd kind of heard snippets off the mainstream channels and stuff like that, but I'd never actually seen anything to do with it. So it was like talking about the Night of a Thousand Tears. Do you know anything more about it?
They mentioned that in The Mandalorian, the phrase "the Night of a Thousand Tears," and they've obviously mentioned the Great Purge a few times, and we actually saw, whenever we saw a young Din Djarin, where we saw like a super battle droid,
Yes.
like basically kill his parents, and then he get rescued by the Mandalorians. So we've heard the phrase "Night of a Thousand Tears" before, but it was really cool seeing it and seeing Mandalore basically devastated, which is quite. I think that's the first, or one of the first times we've seen Mandalore in live action, I would say.
Yeah. It was like the
And
equivalent of a nuclear power plant getting bombed, wasn't
yeah,
it? With a chain
so
reaction explosion.
I think we will see more of Mandalore, if not in this show, but definitely in Mandalorian season 3,
Yeah, it does seem to be pointing that way, doesn't it?
which is pretty cool and something I'm on board with. Something really cool, and you probably caught it yourself in the scenes where the kind of devastation is happening. There's the same model of droid as K2SO. There's like quite a few of them.
Yeah, a bunch of Steve the Pirates.
Yes, and there was also some like kind of Imperial looking probe droids, like the likes from Empire Strikes Back. I saw a few of
Yeah.
them floating in the background as well.
Have you ever seen any of the Terminator movies?
I haven't actually seen any of the Terminator movies. You know that that's something I'll need
Yeah, that's
to
another thing we need to talk about at some point. But
something I'll need to action.
um, those scenes are very, very, very kind of reminiscent of those, like a devastated future with the machines kind of
Yeah.
clearing the house kind of thing. So I think she's maybe paying homage to that, maybe, but it did kind of remind me of that.
That was a highlight of the episode for me. Just want to point out, just when things come to mind, it was Bryce Dallas Howard that was the director of this episode, which is the daughter of Ron Howard, who directed Solo. Bryce Dallas Howard directed the episode of the Sanctuary from season 1, where they get the kind of townspeople to rebel against the Empire. And she also directed, I think, episode or chapter 3, or the third episode of season 2, the one that Bo Katan's in on the water planet.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
as far as
Okay.
I'm aware, in terms of these live action Star Wars shows, this is Bryce Dallas Howard's third
Mhm.
director episode.
Yeah. She's she's also famous for outrunning a T-Rex in high heels in Jurassic World.
And she's also in an episode of Black Mirror. Anyway, we'll digress. So we've heard the kind of story, we've seen the kind of downfall of Mandalore. What would the kind of next steps be after that?
Well, after that, Mando joins their covert and they get to work rebuilding. So they rebuild the forge, and the armor is kind of talking about the mythologies and different bits and pieces. And she gets the kind of story of how Mando defeated Moff Gideon in the end of season 2 in Mandalorian, and how he acquired the Beskar spear.
Yeah, which was cool to see that again.
Yeah, I quite like the spear, and but sadly the armor believes that could be a threat to other Mandalorians because it could pierce their armor. So
Yeah.
Beskar's only meant for armor, not weapons.
I'm sad to see it go, but it makes sense. The Dark Saber's got to be front and center in terms of weapons. So if you've got the spear, it does kind of distract away from that a wee bit.
Yeah, yeah. Um. So, what does he ask for?
He basically wants to get something for, what's the phrase they use again?
The foundling.
The foundling. So then he says a specific foundling. So he obviously wants to make something for Grogu. There's been a few like fan wants over the years that they want um, Grogu to have his own Mandalorian helmet or Mandalorian armor.
That's what I
And
said.
at first I thought that was what was happening, but what they actually produce, it looks like a ball shape. So I think it might be something like the wee knob that he has in the Mandalorian that he always plays with, the wee ball.
Oh, I thought he was making. I thought they made chainmail, like some sort of chainmail for Grogu, because it looked like at the end it was kind of dropped the wee ringlets as if they were making chainmail. I thought that was it
Right.
before.
I think it was maybe purposely left a bit vague because obviously
Yeah.
that's going to come back into play. what's I've seen pointed out was that the packaging looks like his ears.
Yeah, I did
That's
notice that.
obviously on purpose.
When I
So
first watched it, sorry, on you go.
no, you
When I first watched it, I thought she melted down the whole spear, and I was like, how did she only make
go.
this wee bag
Yeah.
out of that whole spear? But she only actually just melted down the tip of the spear.
So then Grogu's got his present made, and then Din and the armorer start a wee bit of sparring, a wee bit of training.
Yeah, and that's when I was saying earlier on, he's struggling to control the blade. It seems to be getting heavier and heavier, and he can't defend himself and he can't attack because it's just dragging him down. He actually falls off a skywalk, and has to use a jetpack to fly back onto the skywalk.
We had a discussion about some of the humor in the show last week. What was your view on some of the? I thought the humor worked in this episode.
Yeah, I thought it
A
worked
bit,
too. Like,
a
it
bit more,
wasn't
bit more
in your
subtle.
face. Yeah, it wasn't in your face and
There was
a cheap laugh.
there was a bit when Mando was in a lift with an alien, and they were just kind of awkwardly looking at each other, and I thought that was actually quite funny.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. The Mandalorian is more about showing rather than telling.
Yeah,
Whereas Boba Fett's been kind of like the opposite. He's been saying things for cheap laughs, and it's just not coming off properly.
yeah.
And so yeah. So plus
So
one to Mandalorian so far.
so they were having a wee bit of a sparring. He falls off. Once that kind of training part's complete, that kind of leads into one of the kind of main parts of the episode. So what happened? What was going down there?
Your man Vizsla decides that Mando isn't worthy of using the Dark Saber because he can't control it, and challenges him to a duel because it was his ancestor, like you were saying earlier, that actually forged the blade.
Yeah.
And the only way you can wield the Dark Saber is if you win it in battle.
Did you think he was likely to take Din Djarin out here?
When I first watched it, I was watching it with my girlfriend Scarlett, and then
Are we shout out?
we shout out, yeah. She'll be happy now. She thought that the Mandalorian was probably going to take him easy, and I was like, no, he's going to get absolutely battered here. And it turns out he pretty much did. He got battered. The heavy gunner had a small shield on his wrist and a vibroblade, and have a bit of a brawl. And the heavy gunner Mandalorian actually takes the dark saber off him and tries to. I think he pretty much tries to kill him, doesn't he?
If that was in Harry Potter lore, the Dark Saber was his now, because in Harry Potter, if you take the wand off the person, you're now the master of the wand. So that's obviously not what they're going with.
Don't spoil Harry Potter as well. You spoiled Game of Thrones last week, and you're spoiling Harry Potter.
Yeah, I'm sure the limitations and spoilers for Harry Potter are going to be long gone.
So yeah, it takes the dark saber, but Mando manages to get hold of him. Managed to get the better of him because he has a vibroblade of his own, and managed to slash him in a few soft spots, and basically gets him to yield. And then the next part was a bit weird for me. Did you kind of think that as well?
No, are you talking about the helmet situation?
Yeah.
Well, that's always been a massive thing with this kind of section of the Mandalorians and the Armorer in terms of the helmet. I think maybe because obviously losing a jewel is obviously a big deal for them. So is the helmet maybe not tied into that?
Yeah, but I just thought so. Basically, the duel's over. The armor says that's enough. But then she goes on to ask Vizsla if he's ever taken his helmet off, and he says no. And he says, "Has anyone ever seen your face?" He says no.
I believe him.
Yeah. It's Jon Favreau. And then she asks the Mandalorian, and obviously season 2, he takes his helmet off twice.
And
But
once
I
in
just
season
I
one as
just
well.
thought it was a really weird question to ask. It was like kind of out the blue. Like, the fight's over. By the way, have you ever taken your helmet off?
Yeah, the timing might have been weird, but it fitted in with what we know about their covert and the importance of the helmet, because that was obviously a big theme in season 1
Yeah, I know.
of The
I
Mandalorian.
just don't see where it came from, though. I know it's probably just to move on the plot, but it just seems like a really out of the
Yeah,
blue thing to ask when there's just a duel happened and you're needing to figure out who like the Dark Saber belongs to or whatever.
yeah,
But it's like, oh, have you ever taken your helmet off?
yeah. It could be a wee bit strange timing wise. So basically, I thought the armor was a bit savage here when it was revealed when Din Djarin admitted that he has taken his helmet off. She basically said, "Well, you're no longer a Mandalorian," and we know from season 2 of the Mandalorian that there are these different factions in this group. Obviously, they place the big importance on the helmet. So he's basically been told he has to leave. There was one way he could redeem himself. Can you remember what that was?
I think did you say that he had to go to the living waters? Was it living
Yeah, it was
waters
like it
in
was some
the
kind of water beneath Mandalore.
in the mines that have been destroyed?
Yeah, so she was basically saying there's one way to solve this, but you can't do it, so you're out of luck.
Yeah. Uh, and the answer to everything is this is the way.
This is the way. So that's done. Mando's a bit sad now, but not too despondent. So he heads off to a kind of space airport,
As some
and
may say, a spaceport.
yes, a spaceport. That's actually a better phrase. And when I watched it back, and you see the subtitles, it mentions that the transport's going to Tatooine. So that was obviously I had my issues at the start. I was like, okay, there's still about 20 minutes left. If we can get into like the story on Tatooine, this episode could be redeemed for me. I do enjoy the episode. Obviously, we've talked about it quite lovingly. I like all the content. I just have my issue with Boba Fett not being in it. But that's by the by. He goes to the spaceport, and then there's quite a humorous wee couple of scenes in the lead up to getting on the ship.
Yeah. Pans to a BD droid, which is made famous from Jedi Fallen Order. It's
You're saying that like you're an expert. You literally hadn't played that game until a couple of weeks ago.
in what?
You're probably still better at it than me. I need to buy it for my PS5 so I can actually complete it because the story was quite interesting.
Well, the BD droid gets taken by some sort of creature. I don't know what it is. You probably know what it is, but I don't know what it is. And the mechanic that helped Mando before.
No, you're
No.
way ahead of the game here.
Oh Jesus! Okay,
We
sorry.
haven't even got on the ship yet. I was talking about the droid that
Oh, that one. Oh,
takes
right.
his
Never mind.
suitcase, basically the airport security.
You take it away because my mind went to mush there.
Well, there's a droid, and he basically says you're not allowed to bring your weapons on the ship. Ring a bell now?
Yes, it does. It does.
And he says, well, it's a big part of my culture, but there's quite a funny scene where he reluctantly agrees. And there's like a couple minute segment where he's just taking all of his weapons off. So you've got the whistling birds, you've got the Dark Saber, numerous guns, and he puts it all in a wee suitcase, and then he says, "I know everything that's in there." So it's quite a humorous scene in the build up to going on to
Yeah.
the spaceship.
I thought I thought that was leading like 100% to him, like somebody stealing his case or something and stealing the dark saber, and
Oh
he's gonna have
yeah,
to get it back.
I thought it was going to be a bit. Sorry for the second Harry Potter reference, but I thought it was a wee bit like in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, where they switched the cases. I thought it was going to become a wee bit like that.
Oh, I don't understand that
But
reference.
yeah, you've seen Fantastic Beasts. I'm pretty sure we went to see it together.
Oh God,
Did we
my
not?
mind is broken.
Anyway, so then he gets on the ship. There's quite a nice wee moment where he sees a kind of younger alien on the ship.
Yes, a small wee Greedo.
Yeah, a wee Rodian. It's got a lot of Rodians.
Yeah,
In
that reminds him of
in this
Grogu.
show, yeah, which is quite a sweet moment. But the kid waves at him, but he doesn't actually wave back. But that's kind of there's a resolution to that later on in the episode. So he gets down to Tatooine, and do you want to continue where you rushed ahead to earlier? I was
Yeah,
getting
so
confused because I knew that the droid from Fallen Order was in the episode, but I was like, the droid wasn't in that scene. That's where I got confused.
maybe he is too. We never know. Not that far ahead in
Anyway,
the game.
that's
Anyway, yeah. So,
the game.
yeah. So BD droid, and then we see the mechanic try to get him back, and all her wee other droids try to get him back from this creature that's snatched him. And then the Mandalorian comes in, saves the day, and he is looking for what he thinks is a like-for-like replacement for the Razor Crest, which got destroyed in season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Which is interesting because the Razor Crest turns out to be the name of like the model rather than his ship's name. I kind of thought it was like the name of his specific ship, but it seems to be more like the
Just
name
a
of
class.
a brand of ship. I don't know
Yeah,
your view. She's not the absolute worst. She had some okay moments, but I find her still a wee bit irritating.
I think she's quite funny. But I'm
Maybe
probably biased. I've seen her
there,
in. On you go.
there was one joke where she said she used to date a Jawa. That one was just a wee bit too much for me.
A bit too freaky, was it?
She said something about the Jawa being hairy. So yeah, we'll move on from that.
Yeah.
So as you said, she says he's found a replacement for the ship. This is probably one of the highlights of the episode. You want to explain why this
Yeah.
ship is so significant?
Yeah. So she pulls out a absolutely wrecked Naboo starfighter.
One of my favorite ships of all time, I would say.
Yeah. It's probably one of the nicest looking ships in the Star Wars universe. But this one's all battered to hell, bits and pieces missing.
Language, please. This is a child-friendly show.
It's all battered and not very good.
Thank you.
And Mando's not impressed, but she believes in it, and she just basically she gets him to give it a chance. So begins the montage of them fixing the ship up, getting parts off the Jawas because they seem to be stealing absolutely anything and everything.
Do you think this scene went a bit too long? The repairing of the ship, did it go on a bit too long for you, or did you quite enjoy it?
It did drag a wee bit, and they seem to be saying a lot of things that probably means nothing to anyone outside of like a Star Wars mechanic.
Yeah.
But
Can I clarify something that confused me a wee bit? Obviously, it was the Naboo starship. Did a
yeah,
pod racer engines?
it kind of
I
sounds
kind of
like it,
felt
doesn't it?
I kind of felt like it had pod racer engines. Because I don't
It
know.
kind of sounds like it, doesn't it?
I've not actually watched. My timekeeping was poor today. I managed to watch like half of it on a second watch, so I've not watched that bit a second time yet. So
Yeah, your time keeping still, Power. We're almost at the 40-minute mark.
I know, and I fell asleep. But we're about 40 minutes, but we're almost there. So we'll
Yeah.
round it off.
Yeah. So basically, montage and Jawas get them basically all the best gear from all the different things. They're basically stealing parts off Pike transports and all sorts. And
It's nice to
they
see a wee mention of the Pikes there, just to kind of tie it into the show a wee bit more.
and so basically, they trick out this Naboo starfighter, basically into this machine that is an absolute beast. I think she dubs it as probably the fastest ship in the Outer Rim, and
So, sounds a wee bit like hyperbole. Higher
um,
English term there.
I only got a C, so I don't even know what that means.
Exaggeration for effect.
So yeah, so they get it all sorted and take it for a test spin, and the CGI in these shots I thought was really impressive, like the landscape and the actual ship itself flying. I thought was really well done.
Did they go anywhere that we recognise in the ship?
This Beggars, is it Beggars Canyon?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go through Beggar's Canyon, which is basically
It's
the pod racers, where the pod
as
racers went through in
as
episode one.
as cool as that was just ultimate fan service. They literally basically followed the exact same route as the pod race, and there was 3 bits where they fly over the ramp and go up in the air. It was
Ah,
literally
yeah,
just
I've seen that.
exact. It was exactly what Anakin's pod race did. I am enjoying seeing a wee bit of prequel love in this show, though.
Yeah, they are doing that quite a lot.
We're prequel boys, aren't we, Paul? We're 90s boys. We were 8 years old when Phantom Menace came out.
Definitely prequels. Not a fan of the sequels, but that's for another time.
Yeah, we can get into the films at a later date. Let's not alienate our audience, please. Our full audience of 70 people, our big army. There we go. So, just to conclude the episode, there's 2 more things I can think of towards the end of the episode that were kind of relevant.
Yeah, do I take it away?
So, I'm struggling to remember which. I think this bit comes first. I think he goes back to after his drive, and Fennec Shand appears and basically tries to hire him as muscle. And there's quite a nice moment where when he finds out the jobs for Boba Fett, then basically says he'll do it on the house, obviously, because Boba helped him get Grogu back. So
Yeah.
there's a bit of kinship there. So that's obviously going to lead into the future. Did that bit come first, or did the bit where he went into space and saw the New Republic pilots? Did that come? I can't remember what order it was, if I'm being honest.
He went into space, then he came back down to the spaceport.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, so we saw the pilots. I think they were in, the episode where is it the prisoner when they help Bill Burr escape? I'm sure those are the same pilots that were in that episode and were in the one with the
Ice spiders.
The ice spiders, which looking back, I thought was a really weak episode because it didn't advance the plot much. But see, when you actually watch that episode again, it's actually really good. Like, see, when you watch it just like retrospectively.
I love that episode, but
Anyway,
that is an episode 5, baby. So
that's a tangent again. So basically, that's kind of where we're at. My overall view, a brilliant episode of The Mandalorian. I don't get why Boba's. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I liked it, but it just kind of killed any momentum the show was building. And I think it was kind of building that momentum in Chapter 4. So that's why I wanted to watch it again, because there's so much good in it, but it's just not. Doesn't. If you rewatched it in the future, you won't really remember it as part of the Book of Boba Fett. You'll remember it more as like a bridge between seasons for The Mandalorian.
Yeah, it is basically just an episode of The Mandalorian, isn't it? It's not. There's not really anything to do with the Boba Fett.
The last 5 minutes tied together.
And didn't have the title card, you would know. You would just think it was a Mandalorian.
Yeah, but see if it had been 20 minutes of Mando doing his thing, and then 20 minutes where it ties more into the plot of the episode. That's what I personally think it could have been stronger as a chapter of the book.
Yeah, the only way I can really defend it is thinking it's a lot more to do with the bigger picture. So that's the only way I can
talk about that bigger picture. I think just before we do our kind of sign-offs for the evening, maybe just talk about where we think it might be going over the next 2 episodes and then into the future of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, so at the end he signs off by saying he has to go visit his little friend first before helping Boba. So I'm assuming he's going to see Grogu.
And Luke, by extension.
And Luke, yeah.
Spoilers for the Mandalorian.
So I'm thinking maybe if he goes to see Luke, he'll help him with the Dark Saber, but I don't know, that's just me. What do you think?
First of all, I'm not a fan of this train of thought. I don't need Luke and Grogu in this show. Like, I think seeing them so soon is going to diminish the power of the ending of Mandalorian season 2. I just don't feel that we need them. I think it's going to take away from the show itself and from Boba Fett's story. I don't know your thoughts. Yeah. Look, not real Mark Hamill, but and Grogu, they're going to overshadow everything. And to me, from a writing point of view, that would be a mistake. But would they mention Grogu so much if he's not going to appear? Probably not. But I just don't know how this story's going to end, and I may be totally different after the last two episodes, but I'm a wee bit concerned about that. Not that I don't want to see Luke and Grogu, but I can wait till season 3. That's just my view.
Yeah, I don't know. It's either that or he might come across like Ahsoka or something. Maybe I don't know. And I think somebody needs to teach him how to use the Dark Saber anyway. Otherwise,
But
he's
to
not
me,
going to know.
that's a Mandalorian season 3 concern. To me, that's not
Yeah,
needed for this show.
yeah. And plus, going forward, I think now that war's coming, that sorry, that's my dog scratching himself. That way, like, I really want to see Boba do a lot more than what he's like for the first 4 episodes. I feel like he's done like absolutely nothing of much.
Leave
Much
Boba
importance.
alone. He had to sit a whole episode there.
I know. It's hard. It's hard to get over. I feel like the Mandalorian is what Boba should have been. Like the Mandalorian's pretty much like modelled on the old school Boba Fett, and the Boba Fett now is
as we said last week, you can't just have two characters being very quiet and like I don't know.
many things.
I'm not against Boba's character development. Just before we finish up, there's two kind of theories I've heard that I thought were quite interesting. One, they keep going on about the mythosaur. It's been mentioned a couple of times. It's like this ancient large creature that the Mandalorians used to like ride on the back of. And there's I think it was the Star Wars Holiday Special, the infamous one, that Boba Fett was actually riding the mythosaur. And I think I've heard it mentioned a few times. I'm sure there was a mention of it in this episode as well. I think we might see Boba riding some kind of mythical Mandalorian beast at some point.
I see.
And my other point, obviously, season 3 of The Mandalorian is going to have a big Mandalorian focus with the Dark Saber, Bo-Katan, etc. I think there's a good chance Boba will eventually lead Mandalore. I don't know. There may be something in there.
Well, I better start getting some backbone then if he is going to lead Mandalore.
Right. I think we'll maybe start closing off before you. But I think this is why we this works as a discussion, because I think we do have kind of different viewpoints on the characters and the story, etc. Right. So that's a couple of minutes to 50 minutes. So we're 20 minutes short of last week, just talking about one episode, but that's what podcasts are for. Paul, do you want to talk a wee bit about our social media channels and maybe thank our army of 70 fans?
Oh, we've got a lot more than 70 fans. We've got 70 people that listen to our podcast. Unfortunately, 65 of them were fake accounts that my mum made.
We're going to get her on at one point.
Yeah, I'd like to say pretty much thanks to anyone that took time to even listen to a couple of minutes of it. I know we don't have the sexiest voices in the world, but it does mean a lot just to see if people are interested in what we've got to say, and just hope they've been enjoying it. Had quite a lot of likes on our Facebook page. We've also got a Twitter and Instagram as well, so just need to search Seismic Cinema.
And one of our friends we encouraged to start watching the show. He actually watched the first episode, then listened to our review, so that was nice. And one of my colleagues was listening to it on the way to work as well. So just wee things, but we're looking to continue going for the last 2 chapters of the Book of Boba Fett, do a kind of wee ranking, season summary, and then in the future we're going to look at doing Moon Knight, the Marvel show. But we've got a wee 6-week gap in there. We did a bit of research, so there is a wee gap.
Yeah, so if there is anything that anyone wants us to review, or if anyone's got any good ideas for series or movies, even older movies and such, we'd love for you to get in touch with us and let us know. And also, you were saying about a voice message service, was it?
Yeah, Anchor has a voice messenger service where we're still learning about it, but I think you can basically send in a voice message with questions or comments, etc. So if anyone is listening and wants to send that in, we'd love some feedback on our channel. We're the Paul won't want to admit it, but we're the best of friends for 20 odd years, and we want to build something good here where we can talk movies and TV and escape reality for a wee bit and have a good time.
Yeah. So, if there's anyone got any questions, even if we've got wee fun facts or wee bits that we've missed about the episode, because no doubt we'll have missed loads from our reviews. If you've got anything you want to share with us, that would be absolutely fantastic.
And I was going to finish off with the seismic charge, but I messed that up last week. And I think I've decided we'll start the episode with the seismic charge and we'll finish the episode by just saying, see you later and may the force be with you.
And take care in these crazy times.
Over and out.
See ya.